Let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem, Rucha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is The Other Church. And the reason why I entitled it that is, I'm not sure who sent it to me, but somebody sent me a clip from Instagram, I believe it was. And pretty much you had Jordan Maxwell breaking down the word church, which is heavy. Now, there is a church, the Church of the Lord, which when you go into the word church itself, the Greek word there for church, when you go through the scriptures, is the word ecclesia. That's where you get the word Ecclesiastes, Ecclesiasticus. Now, ecclesia, which is a compound word, ek, means out, and then the rest of it, ecclesia, comes from the word kalem, which means to call. So ecclesia means to call out, all right? But then you have another church, and Jordan Maxwell was breaking it down to where the word church comes from the Scottish word, I believe he says Scottish word kirk, the name Kirk, Kirk, right? He was breaking it down, and he said the name Kirk goes back to the name Circe, which was a Roman goddess, and she was a Roman goddess that would hypnotize you. But it also goes back to the Greek, I believe he said the Greek Circe, or the Greek Circe and the Roman Circe, or something like something along those lines, whatever the pronunciation was. But they were both spelled similar, but one of them was Circe, the other one was Circe. And pretty much that's what this particular word church that we see today in plantation Christianity goes back to. All right, you have to understand, we are dealing with the truth of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and we are dealing with the deception of of Esau, pretty much. I was going to say the other nations, but of Esau, pretty much, that has deceived the world by using the Bible and using certain terminologies that seem to be holy, but they have a different meaning to them. Like when he uses the word God and church and all that, he's talking about something different than what the Bible is speaking of. So Lord's willing, this lesson, we can go through it and give you the meaning of it, because it's very important, because we are in the great awakening as far as the elect of the nation of Israel are concerned, but we're also still in a great time of deception, but slowly but surely that deception is being dismantled by the truth. All right, so he was breaking it down. It was pretty interesting. I'm gonna start off here with the word church, because he said the word church itself, right, goes back to the word Kirk. As you can see here, Kirk, you have different words for Kirk here, right? Now when you go to the word Kirk, or the name Kirk, it tells you it goes back to the word church. All right, now when you go back to the word church, the word church here says Ceres or Circe. See? Place of assemblage set aside for Christian worship. The body of the Christian believers, Christian collectively, ecclesiastical authority or power. See? Kirka. Alright, so this is where that goes back to. Now, this particular church that he's talking about is really talking about, Esau's church. Their way of worship, that they pushed upon the world, which they deceived the world. Because remember, the first thing that that beast did when it was let out of his prison sentence, that particular head, was what? To deceive the whole world. Now we'll go to Circe, right? The word Circe is a beautiful enchantress, okay, which goes back to what? Goes back to witchcraft. Beautiful enchantress of the Isle of Aia, who transformed into swine those who drank from her cup, right? And drank from her cup means what? This is going back to Revelation 17, that cup in the book of, I believe that's Jeremiah 51 or 50, who drank from her cup, she turned them into what? Swine. Now, this is the myth, but we know it's not talking about turning people into actual swine, but pretty much degenerating their mind by this potion that she's pushing on the people. All right, now as we move along, you have Circe in Greek legend, a sorceress, the daughter of Helios, right? So she's a sorceress. What is a sorceress? A witch that casts spells upon people. So she's the daughter of who? Helios. Who is Helios? Helios is the Greek god of the sun, or the Greek way of saying sun. So now this is why the church, this Edomite church, this plantation Christianity slash Renaissance Christianity church worships on where? On what? On Sunday, Helios Day, because Circe, which is where the word church comes from, that particular church, in Greek mythology, she's a sorceress and the daughter of Helios, the sun god. That's why they worship on Sunday. And of the ocean nymph Perse, she was able by means of drugs and incantations to change humans into wolves, lions, and swine. Now, keep in mind, it's not talking about changing them into. I mean, that was a legend, the mythology, but they mentally, this church, the vibes of it, the incantation of it, the spell of it, changes people into a beastly state. That's why that's why they allow moles, whether men or women. That's why they allow people to eat swine, all type of abominations. They're okay with adultery. They're okay with all kind of stuff because they turn the people's minds into mush. This is why it speaks about the Israelite foreigners. It says who are past feeling, because at one time these Israelite foreigners, they had the law, statutes, and commandments. They had a certain decor about them, for lack of better words. They had like a certain certain scruples about them, right, that they would follow. But after a while of being immersed in that Greek mythology and that Greek customs, all of that started leaking out of them, and eventually they were doing wrong and didn't have any conscience of it. And this is what these churches do. This is what plantation Christianity does. It pulls away all of the veneration, submission to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and it pulls away the penitent spirit away from the Lord and puts it upon this form of church. All right, let's see what else we got. What was Circe the goddess of? Sorcery, right? She was a goddess of sorcery. Then you have here what? Pharmakella. Now, what is pharmakella? It goes back to pharmacy, pharmakia, which goes back to witchcraft in the Greek. All right, and Lord's will, we'll explore some of these words in the Greek. This is a little, this is some meat, so those of you that are new to this, just hang in there and just keep on learning, because these are some important points to make, as far as certain Greek words, certain Hebrew words, so on and so forth, for the building up of, your spiritual understanding. All right. So going back here, it says Kirk, or Circe, or Circe, was a goddess of sorcery, Pharmakella, who was skilled in the magic of transmutation, illusion, and necromancy. She lived on the mythical island of Aea, or however you pronounce that. Okay. So let's see what else we got. We got that. What is this? Okay, now remember, it said that she was skilled in magic, illusion. She was into, like the witches, they're into that casting of spells and potions, so on and so forth. So I typed in witches make potions to cast spells on someone, right? Let's see. Did I find anything on that? I was trying to find something on that. Let's see. This cauldron is no longer in pristine condition and reportedly exploded when a group of modern day Cornish witches were using it to brew a potion on the beach. Witches, potions, and spells. Then it has a book overview. This book is worth 300 goddamn dollars. For centuries, witches have brewed potions and cast spells to work their magic, enchanting lovers, curling disease, harming, so on and so forth. Now, this is why some people say if you into the herbs that you're a witch, and this is why the Salem witch trials. A lot of those witches that they were killing were midwives and homeopathic physicians, that heal people with the herbs. So it could be used for good or it could be used for evil. So the witches on the left hand side use it for evil, and they're casting spells on people. And this is why it's important to understand words. Like that word church. You got the good church or the real church, which goes back to the calling out, and then you have the church of Esau, which is Circe, which goes back to casting spells and potions. Now, what that brought to mind was Revelation 13:3, because that's what they're doing. They're trying to get as many people, especially Israelites, to follow behind to follow behind their way of Christianity so that they can be destroyed. Because you have the right gospel and you have the wrong gospel. The apostle Paul spoke about another gospel. All right. So here in Revelation 13:3 it says, and I saw one of his heads as they were wounded to death. When you go up to the top of this is talking about the 7 heads and the 10 horns of the dragon. Now this is a beast that the apostle John saw on the island of Patmos in a vision, but the beast represented the different empires of Esau and their allies in rulership. All right. At the time when the apostle John had this vision, he was in the Roman Empire, or the end of the Roman Empire of the Edomites. And the Lord showed him this vision, and he showed one of the heads out of those 7 heads as it was wounded or broken. All right. And that was the Roman Empire losing its power, the Edomite form of the Roman Empire. Because when you read the history, they're not going to tell you this, of course, but when you read the history and you're able to put it together, the Israelites that took over from the Edomite Roman Caesars, they pretty much kept that whole Roman system going, that pagan Roman system going, and it was until about 325 AD when Constantine made Christianity the religion of the Roman Empire, which it changed from the pagan Roman Empire to the Holy Roman Empire. Okay, so this is the head that was wounded to death for that period of time. When you go to Revelation 20, it gives you a period of 1,000 years. All right. Then after that 1,000 years, it said that Satan will be loosed out of his prison, which is not talking about the spiritual demon Satan, but it's speaking about the Edomites, or this whole empire, or these empires of the Edomites. All right, because the word Satan simply means adversary. You have the spiritual demon Satan, and you have the physical counterpart on the earth, which is these so-called Edomites, or these Edomites, so-called white people. It says, and I saw one of his heads as it was wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. His deadly wound being healed was during that time period of the Renaissance. And when their wound was healed, they went around deceiving the whole earth. And how did they do that? By changing all of the images of the so-called black, black, so-called black Most High, and Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, the angels, the Israelites, so on and so forth, and put their faces on instead. Those of you that are new, you could look into the something called iconoclast, right? And that is the defacing of the images. And that's what they did. This is part of their deception. The other part of the deception was using our book against us and making us believe that they were the people, and giving us their interpretation or their understanding or their spell that they cast upon us by using the book for themselves against us. And this is why you have a lot of Israelites that don't trust the Bible, because it was used against, it's our book that was used against us. All right. So it says, and his deadly wound was healed. But this is the point. And all the world wondered after the beast. Why? Because they were given that deceptive, ability to lie to the people. Now, when we look up this word wondered, right? Let's go down here to the word wondered. And it says the whole world wondered. And the word there for world is gay or gi, where you get the word geo. So you have the word oikomene, which is world in the Greek, the entire world. And you have ge, gi, gay, geo, which is the word world also, which means the entire planet. But the word we're looking at is the word thaumazo. Thaumazo. Now, thaumazo means to wonder at, marvel, to be wondered at, to be had in admiration. So when you are in admiration, you're pretty much caught up in the whole fray of you're in amazement of this. So you're in such amazement that you're pretty much caught up into whatever it is that you're being shown. And the majority, we were all caught up into it, at one point. But then the Lord slowly but surely started waking us up to pull us away from that. Right? Let's see here. Marvel, wonder. Okay, now we're going to go to the word thaumazo, right? Thauma, which is the root word of that word, right? And the word there just simply means a wonderful thing, a marvel, wonder. To wonder with great wonder, an example, exceedingly. Okay, let's see. So now, what I did was I copied the word thauma, right? And I went to, let's see where we at. I went to Google, right? And I looked up thauma, and it says a wonder, marvel, something strange, an example, in the plural, jugglers, tricks. All right, so these are tricks, enchantments, the feeling of wonder, astonishment. Then we come here, it says, what is the Greek word thauma? Thauma is a word derived from Greek meaning a wonder or marvel, and thaumaturgy, the magic of miracles. And this is why it says that they're doing this by the miracles, the magic of their miracles. And the whole world is caught up into this except for the elect of the nation of Israel, right? It says games are the world's thaumatic art form. All games pull players into worlds with their own rules, and players have the capacity to believe that that world has some kind of tangible existence outside of themselves. But the point here we're looking at is the word magic of miracles. All right. Let me see. What is the origin of the word thauma? The word thauma is one of several ancient Greek words conveying the notion of wonder or amazement, rather than wonder generated by something heard or learned about secondhand. Thauma often conveyed the idea of wonder as elicited by something seen, right? And that's their form of Christianity. All right. So the world wondered, because now when we go back to the word thaumazo, right? Check this out. Thaumazo, right? We come down to the, what is this called? The concordance results showing using the KJV. So pretty much these words here, these are the same words, but they use the word marvel, which is the same thing. Wondered, marveled. And when we read through these, Matthew 8 and 10, when Yahushua heard it, he marveled and said to them that followed, verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. This was an Israelite foreigner that had greater faith than those that were in the land of Israel. Right now, we go to the same chapter, verse 27, but the men marveled, saying, what manner of man is this, that even the winds and the sea obey him? This is dealing with the apostles, which at the time were disciples. When Yahushua was sleeping in the boat, there was a tempestuous storm, and they were nervous and scared, and they woke him up because he was sound asleep, and he just rebuked the winds, and they stopped. And they will marvel like, oh, wow. Because ultimately, we're supposed to marvel about Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. The world is marveling with this plantation slash Renaissance Christianity. But we are supposed to marvel at Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. We're supposed to be captivated by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Matthew 9 and 8. But when the multitude saw it, they marveled and glorified the Most High, which had given such power unto men. You see? So we're supposed to glorify and marvel in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. This is Matthew 9, same chapter, verse 33. And when the devil was cast out, the dumb spake, and the multitude marveled, saying, it was never so seen in Israel. So the marvel that we're supposed to have, right, and the admiration is supposed to go directly to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, not the world. But what Esau did was he took everything that the Lord set up, and he used it on the left-hand side as a form of casting a spell on the world to accept his brand of Christianity. That's why in 2 Corinthians 11 and 4 it says, for if he that cometh preaches another Jesus, right, whom we have not preached, because you do have another gospel, another so-called Jesus, that's being preached. And that is how Esau is casting spells on the world. And even you have some Israelites that wake up to the truth to find out what the truth really is, and they get sucked back into that amazement and that wonder of the Roman Catholic Church, because all churches that you see out here are all daughters of the Roman Catholic Church. All right? They're all a part of it. Doesn't matter if they call themselves Jehovah's Witness, or they call themselves Calvinists, or they call themselves Protestants, or they call themselves Methodists, Jehovah's Witness, Pentecostal, Seventh-day Adventists. It doesn't matter. They all go back and stem back to the Roman Catholic Church. And those enchantments that you see, each one of those churches took parts from the Roman Catholic Church and added their own spin to it. And that's all it is. So it says, for if he that cometh preaches another Jesus, whom ye have not preached, or if you receive another spirit, which you have not received, or another gospel, which you have not accepted, you might well bear with him. And as you read on down, for such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Yahweh Shai. And what are they doing? They're captivating people and drawing them into that net. The net of false Christianity. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. So they're going to be judged for this insolence. So moving on, let's see what else we got. Now when we go to the book of Exodus, because let's see, where is that? Okay, let me keep this here, and then let me bring this up here, because I believe, oh no, not this. Let me leave this where it was at. It was one of these. Just bear with me. Here, this one. So let me bring this up here so I can keep these together. Let me bring this back, because it's important to understand, certain words. Now, when we go to Exodus 22:18, this is the Old Testament. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Right? When we look at this word witch, it goes back to the word kashap. Right? Let's go to the word kashap. It says to practice witchcraft or sorcery, use witchcraft, sorcerer, sorceress. See, to whisper a spell, an example, to enchant or practice magic. And how did they do that? By changing the doctrine of the Lord, using the same book and casting a spell on the people with their brand of Christianity. All right? And this is why when we look at, what is it? Right here, Circe, right? It says Kirk or Circe was a goddess of sorcery, pharmakella. And we looked up the word pharmakella, right? Sorcery, magical arts, often found in connection with idolatry and fostered by it. Then it gives you a scripture. It even gives you scripture, Galatians 5:20. Matter of fact, let's get that real quick. Bring this up here. Galatians 5 and 20. Let's start at 19. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft. See? Hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, sedition, heresies. So when we look up this word witchcraft in the New Testament, which we're going to get, you have the word pharmakia. Sounds like pharmacy, right? Pharmakia. In Spanish, farmacia, right? Now, before we move on from there, let's go back here to the Hebrew, right? Exodus 22:18, right? Thou shalt not suffer witch to live. Now, when you go down to the Greek portion of this, you have here what? Pharmakous. All right? And that's why they put it as this word, because that word means to cast spells. You know, these witches brew potions. They create drugs. They enchant people. They could heal or they could put spells on the people. All right? And that's what this is all about. This is why when Esau got let out of that prison sentence that they were under, right? This is why they started to deceive the world. Let's go real quick to Revelation 20. Let's get it. Revelation chapter 20. And we're going to go straight to the point 7. And when the 1,000 years are expired, that means that was from the time when Esau fell. You know, you could say roughly 325, even though they fell way before that. You know, they fell at 96 AD. That's when the last Edomite ruler was in there. But by 325 AD, you know, that whole thing, the whole pagan Roman Empire was being restructured and pushing it towards a Christian form of Christian form of empire or worship. So it says that when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan, which is Esau, the so-called white man, shall be loosed out of his prison, right? Because they were in the prison sentence, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. And that's exactly what they did. They deceived the world by their brand of plantation Christianity. Because the scripture in Job 9:24 says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is it? Because the earth is, who's in charge of the planet Earth? It ain't so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, the Israelites. It's not the Chinese. It's not the Japanese. It's not, any other nation but the so-called white man. This is why any nation you go to, when you're dealing with, I'm not sure if it's called aeronomics. When you're dealing with pilots and flying the planes, every pilot out there has to know English, no matter what country they come from, in order to fly, because that is the international language of the skies is English, so that everyone can communicate. All right, and whose language is English? Right now, it's Esau's language. So they're the ones that are in control. They're the ones that are creating policies. They are the ones that control the entire planet Earth. All right? So they have deceived the entire planet Earth. Through what? Through these potions that they push through plantation/Renaissance Christianity. Now, when we go back here, that's pharmakia. The use of administering of drugs, poisoning, sorcery, magical arts, often found in connection with idolatry and fostered by it, metaphorically, the deceptions and seductions of idolatry. And this is the form of so-called Christianity that Esau pushed upon the world, deception and seduction. That's why it says that in the latter times some shall give heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. Because this potion that Esau put out there is going to affect many. Now when we go down here, from pharmakia, from G5332, med to the I to the cation. Got to say it that way, because if not, then it says here what? Pharmacy. An example by extension, magic, sorcery, witchcraft. And that's here in the book of Galatians 5 and 20. But this goes, it rings true through the New Testament. Now moving on, you have Nahum 3 and 4, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts. Now this applies to America. At one time it applied to ancient Nineveh, ancient Assyria. Now today it applies to America. That selleth nations through a whoredoms and families through a witchcrafts. You look up the word witchcraft here, the word kashat once again. You go to the Greek, you have pharmakon, in this case, pharmakon, which goes back to pharmacy, pharmakia, pharmakon, pharmakois here, if I'm pronouncing that part right. Okay? So it all goes back to the same root word, pharmacy. Now we go to Numbers 23:23. Surely there is no enchantment against Jacob, because you have an elect among the nation of Israel that will not be deceived. All right? What do I have here? Okay. Now, surely there is no enchantment against Jacob. Now we got to come back to it, but let's go to the word enchantment. The word there is nakash. Nakash is where you get the word for serpent. All right? The word serpent pretty much, is something that is what's the word I'm looking for? Synonymous with witchcraft, with that left hand energy, with sorcery. All right, divination, enchantment. Then here it says an incantation or augury. Now, if you know anything about America, which is set up based off of witchcraft, you have presidents, when they get sworn in, they have what? The inauguration. What is an inauguration? An inauguration is the one man, which is the president, which goes back to ancient Rome, takes on the omen. They take on that demonic spirit of America that is passed from one president to another. What's they're nothing more than low-level priests for the international banking families. That's what you have an inauguration. All right? See here, incantation, enchantment. Now, you look up the word incantation, a series of words said as a magic spell or charm. And if you notice, a lot of times these witches, what do? They keep repeating those so-called magical incantations over and over again. Just like Esau, when they brought out their brand of Christianity, they kept saying stuff over and over and over and over again, to where people just started repeating it, and they were pretty much caught up in that spell. That's why the angel got mad at the Apostle John, because he got kind of caught up in that at one point. Let's go to that. Revelation 17 and 6. And I saw the woman, which is America, drunken with the blood of the saints, which are the Israelites, and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua, which are the prophets and the witnesses of Yahushua. And when I saw her, meaning America, I wondered with great admiration. You see? So even John at the moment, he got kind of caught, Apostle John got kind of caught up and just like, wow. Because that's how the people of the world are. They seduced by America. That's why everybody wants to come to America. It says, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? He got mad and like, why the hell did you marvel? What the hell you got all caught up into her, this woman's seduction, her spell? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which have 7 heads and 10 horns. And as you read on down, it explains what this is. These are 7 major empires of Esau, beginning with the Greeks, the Romans, the Spanish, the French, Germania Major, Germania Minor, and the British. And then the 8th beast, or the 8th head, is America, which came out of all 7, because they're all Edomite nations. And where did these Edomites here come from? They came from those different places out there in Europe. Namely, a lot of them came from Britain. Over here, and a lot of them that were sent over here were pretty much criminals. A majority of them with no scruples. Lowlifes, scumbags. So they send half of them over here and they send half of them over to Australia. You know? All right, so moving on. Incantation, a series of words said as a magic spell or charm. And this is how they got the world deceived. All right, so this is going back to the word nakash, you know, which is what is used for enchantment. There's no enchantments against Jacob. And nakash, like I said, is synonymous. Well, this is also a word for serpent. I don't know if they're going to go back to the origin of it. Let me see. Nakash. This one says to practice divination, divine, observe signs, learn by experience, diligently observe that. And it says observe signs, learn by experience. That's why the Lord called America the mistress of witchcraft. Mistress is a feminine way of saying master. They've mastered the art of witchcraft. Diligently observe, and that's what practice fortune telling. That's what the Lord says, stand now with the multitude of thine enchantments. Take as an omen, which just goes back into augury, you know, the inauguration. Matter of fact, let's see if we can pull up. Let's see. Let me know what we should be able to pull up this here. Inaugurate. Let's pull that up. Oops. Thought I had it. Wait. Meaning, let's see. Inaugurate. To put something into use or action, or to put a person into an official position with a ceremony. And what ceremony is that too? So that they can take on the omens or the demons of these ancient or these different, you know, other presidents that have been before them, which goes back to ancient Rome, which goes back to ancient Greece, which really goes all the way back to the beginning of the world through Sumer, Babylon, you know, Syria, ancient Egypt. Let me see. What is the meaning of to induct into an office with suitable ceremonies? But it's not really going into to take the augur. Because let me see what it says for the word augur. Augur meaning. Let's see what it says. To foretell. See? Like fortune telling. To foretell. Foretell. Predict the future or a future event. All right? Which the prophets did that, but Esau doing it on the left-hand side because they have their false prophets. To foretell, especially from omens. See? So let's go to Etem Online real quick. Let's type the word augur in. You know what? Let's type in inaugur. Inaugurate. Here we go. Inaugurate. Induct into office by formal ceremony. And see, you gotta watch out for these ceremony. Why do they have to have a ceremony? Because this is, you know, away from channeling or passing that demon from one president to the next. That's why when the president comes in, they're usually youthful looking, and then by the time they finish, they're all broken down, tattered and torn, grayed up. Because this is a heavy demonic spell that they're taking on themselves. It says a back formation from inauguration, and also from Latin inauguratus, past participle of inaugurare. The etymological sense is made a formal beginning or induction into office with suitable ceremonies, which in ancient Rome included especially the taking of auguries. The earlier verb was augur. So let's see what, let's go to augur. Let's see what this says for augur. Augur. Ancient Roman functionary whose duty was to observe and interpret auspices and or reputed natural signs concerning future events. This is why the Lord says, stand up now with thine enchantments. From Latin augur, a religious official in ancient Rome, which they're doing it now. Perhaps divine, originally meaning, and that's why when you have these inaugural speeches and the inauguration of the presidents, who do you have there present? A so-called preacher, which is not a preacher of the true church. They're a preacher of the church of sorcery, casting spells on the people. Originally meaning as increase in crops enacted in ritual, in which case it probably is from Old Latin augos, auguras, increase, and is related to augurare, increase. Yeah, like Augustus. And I believe Augustus is the same thing, to increase, if I'm not mistaken on that. So yeah, right here. The more popular theory is that it is from Latin avis, bird, because the flights, signing, and feeding of birds were important objects of divination. See? In that case, the second element would be from garere, to talk. So, pretty much it's all satanic when you break it down. And that's why they have to have ceremonies. All right? So let's see, the omen, to practice divination, to observe the signs or omens. And the word nakash, you can look it up yourself. Another word or the same word nakash also means serpent or snake. And this is why you'll see witches with snakes slithering around. So let's read this again and then let's move on. It says, surely there is no enchantments against Jacob, neither is there any divination against Israel. According to this time it shall be said of Jacob and of Israel, what hath the Most High wrought? So there's no enchantments or divination. You can't cast any spells on the Israelites. You're going to get some of them, or a good portion of them. Why? Because they a lot of them are not a part of the elect. But the ones that are a part of the elect, you're not going to be able to get. So the word divination is quasam, divination, witchcraft. See? In a good sense, king's lips as oracles. But you have divination, witchcraft. So there's no witchcraft against Jacob. So now let's go to Matthew 24:24. For there shall arise false anointeds and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders. Remember what we read about, sorcery and all of that, all of this casting of spells and on the people. Insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. But guess what? They can't deceive the very elect, because the elect have the eye salve in them, and the oil in them, which is the eye salve, which the Lord will allow them to see through the madness, through the BS. Let's look up the word elect. You got the word eclectos. You also get the word eclectic. It means picked out, chosen by the Most High to obtain salvation through Yahweh Shai. The Messiah is called elect. Choice, select, an example, the best of its kind or class. The hierarchy, the first fruits, excellence, preeminent, applied to certain individual Christians or Hamashiachim, anointed. And it's heavy because the word eclectos is synonymous with like ecclesia, to call out. So the elect are going to be called out by this word and are going to be brought out of that demonic way of thinking that these devils got the rest of the world under. And the last precept I have here is Revelation 18. And it starts off, Babylon is fallen. Right? Let me read the second verse. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils and the hold of every foul spirit and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. This is talking about the desert creatures that will be inhabiting this place after it burns out. No man's going to be able to quench this fire. It's going to burn out on its own. Then after a certain period of time, then you'll have the birds, these desert creatures, birds and stuff living here. Now when we jump down to the, matter of fact, let's start at 20. After she's destroyed, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High hath avenged you on her. That's why the prophets, the elect, are going to be in the chariot, nervous, but praising Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua that the Lord destroyed this place finally. Because sometimes it seems like this place is never going down, but it is going down. It's just the Lord is slowly but surely breaking it apart. It says, and the mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down and shall be found no more at all. Why? Because this is how they got America and the world, through violence. It says, and the voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman or whatsoever crafty be shall be found any more in thee, and the sound of the millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be found no more, shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. It goes back to pharmakia. And consequently, you have witches, right? Esau has their top 13 witches, the council of 13, which are the top 13 witches, that work for the Rothschild and the international banking families. And John Todd, he was one of the 13. Pretty much he was breaking it down how these witches are heavy into drugs, you see, and those drugs give them, foresight. And then certain rituals that they do allow demons to enter into their bodies and inhabit their bodies, which are known as spirit guides. So drugs play a major part in the deception of this devil. Through these different potions and the different teachings that they bring to the world. This is why the Lord said, matter of fact, let's finish it out with Revelation 17. Revelation 17 and 5. It says, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the greatest conglomeration of confusion, the mother of harlots. And the mother of harlots represents what? You can worship anything you want in this country. You can be whatever you want. And they push that whole idea of be who you want to be. Love is love. They push that whole demonic vibe on the world through their brand of Christianity. That's what the Lord calls it, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth, because you could be anything you want to be here, as far as you could be asexual, pansexual, pansexual, bisexual, anything you want to be. You can eat whatever you want, be whatever you want. It's just total madness. You see? But this is how they got this is how they deceived the world, by their brand of Christianity, their church, their gospel, which has nothing to do with Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. The only thing it has to do is that they work for the Lord on the left-hand side, and they're using the same book but bringing out a different understanding. And I apologize to you newer members. This was like more of an advanced lesson. So you could always go back and watch it, but we usually just do like basic videos, for the sake of the new listeners. But every once in a while we'll throw some meat out there, for them hungry sheep. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Until the next time I say shalom.